Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Break Room Banter, a hairstylist adjacent podcast where each week two friends who happen to be hairstylists break down our week in the break room. I'm your host, Hunter Walden, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co host,
Anna Schrader, and today we are talking about hairapy, aka unofficial therapy that happens while we're doing hair.
Yes, and I feel like this is a pretty good episode to have here in the beginning, and something that I think we deal with a lot is other people's problems. For lack of a better term, we deal with other people's problems a lot.
Yeah.
And so today I think that we're going to kind of crack into how we handle it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How share with each other our
Mm-hmm.
methods of taking on that additional task in our career.
Yeah. Before we do, though, Hunter, it's your turn to share with me a rose and a thorn from this week.
All right. My rose for this week is that I'm going on vacation.
Oh, do tell.
Yes. So I'm going to Orlando this week, and I'm so excited. I think the whole week is just it's gonna be one of two things. It's either gonna fly by or it's gonna drag by in anticipation for vacation. But I think it's gonna fly by because I have something to look forward to. And we're gonna go to Orlando. We may spend a day at the park, one of the parks, to which...
Do you know which one?
To be determined. Probably Epcot, because they have a new collector's popcorn bowl, and the popcorn is rainbow.
Oh my gosh. You guys didn't know Hunter is obsessed with Disney World.
Disney World, Disneyland, Disney as an industry. Yeah. I have a Ariel tattoo covering the bottom half of my arm and a Cinderella's castle covering the top half of my arm.
And you're wearing a Lilo and Stitch
Moo-moo.
Is Lilo and
You
Stitch
could say
Disney,
it.
though?
Yeah,
okay,
they are.
I
had to think about that for a second. I was like, wait, are they? But yeah, they are. And my thorn. What shall my thorn be? It's harder to think of a thorn when your rose is so big.
Well, that's either a good thing because you don't have any, or it's a bad thing because you decompress, or you stuff. You forget about it and don't do. That's what I do.
Oh no. I guess my thorn is that I have to leave my babies, my aminals.
So this week's rose and thorn, my rose is that I've been eating really, really good food. I made a delicious crock pot curry as well as crock pot chicken. And I've been holding true to my New Year's resolution of packing food. And it's been really great. And I invented a new sandwich today.
What is that? Is that what you had for dinner?
Yes, I ate it right before this podcast. And it was so good. I was craving, I think I've been eating so many sweets this week because of coming off of Valentine's Day, that I was just craving a lot of salt and that vinegary salty taste. So my go-to is a grilled cheese with pickle and barbecue sauce. And I didn't have any barbecue sauce. So the alternative was some hummus that I made that was waiting to be eaten. Extra lemony hummus.
Interesting.
And some feta cheese. And a very weird substitute, but it was grilled cheese with hummus, feta cheese added, and pickles. and it was amazing. It was so good. It was like the perfect salty thing that I just was craving. I
That
didn't want it to end.
that makes me concerned, I think.
Why?
All of those things put together? I don't know.
Well,
I think I'm more of a plain guy. Not plain, like I like food, but I think my taste buds aren't as evolved as yours.
I don't know if my taste buds are evolved or just confused, but it was really yummy. And let's see, a thorn. Like you, I have a hard time sometimes thinking about thorns. I guess it was a good week. Oh, so I went to place an order for the salon of things that we really need updates. And so I ordered all new capes, like salon capes, or not capes, aprons for all of us.
Uh-huh.
And it's the
Spendy.
Rosanna thorn. And immediately after I ordered them, I realized that I put like 24 in the cart instead of like 8. I guess that's my thorn. And if I were to think long enough, I could probably think of a better thorn. But honestly, in
I would
keeping
say
with
the
what we're talking
coldest week
about,
of winter.
huh?
I would say the coldest week of winter approaching you is
It
that's
has
a
been so cold. There's a cold front right now. And I am like a stickler for, I live like right up the street from the salon. And it's like
mhm,
either a, no joke, 30-second drive or a 3-minute walk.
right?
And so I push myself to walk every single day. And
Wait, even in the snow?
yeah, yep, I do. And it actually is, if we get a ton of snow, it actually works out for my favor because then I don't have to worry about like shoveling my car
Sliding.
out. Yeah. Oh, here's a thorn. My friend's pipes froze within keeping with a cold week. Her
Oh
pipes froze.
no.
Thankfully, they didn't, nothing burst, but like none of the water works or drains.
Mm,
So, yeah, she's like,
that's not good.
it's never happened to me personally, knock on wood, but I know a lot of people that it happens to, especially if you have like a drain that's near an exterior wall.
Do you know what we
They're
do
prone
here
to
in the
happen.
South whenever it gets cold? We
What?
open our cabinets and leave the water running.
Oh, open your cabinets. That's a good idea. Like, yeah, that's
I don't
we
know
do too. Like
why opening the
I've never heard of the
cabinets.
opening cabinets, but that makes complete sense. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with that because your houses are not insulated. So when it does get cold, it's like really important that you do run that water. Yeah.
I mean, our houses are insulated. They're just not, I guess, not as well insulated. Or maybe our pipes are not insulated like yours are.
I remember hearing about this, like the storm in Texas, big
Oh, it was
snowstorm.
terrible. Bradley's brother
Yeah.
lives in San Antonio. They didn't have power for like 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, those poor people. And also, a lot of the plumbing is exposed outside. So it's not, they don't have basements like we do.
Yeah, there's not very many basements here either. There's a lot of rock.
That's so interesting to me. Every
Hmm.
house here has a basement.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
It's
so
very,
interesting to
very rare that
me.
you would find a house without a basement.
Huh. For what? Like, what do you
I
need a
don't,
basement for?
well, I have a bunch of storage and I have my laundry, like my washer and my dryer down there. And
Oh.
I have clotheslines down there. So in the winter, I'll hang up my clothes. In the summer, it's too humid down there. It's like kind of, there's water draining into the basement. And
Oh. That's not
yeah,
good.
it's interesting because we have like a trough that's like chiseled into the like the floor of the basement. And that's where like the water, if there's any kind of leakage from spring, like the snow melting,
Yeah.
it will go into the trough into it's called like a sump pump and then out into like the drain, like the flowing sewer.
Intriguing. I
Isn't
am
that interesting?
intrigued. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had a basement when we lived in Cincinnati, but we don't have one here.
I think that's so interesting, especially because you guys have so many tornadoes. That's where you're supposed to go, is a basement, but none of you have basements.
We have a Harry Potter closet at this house, so we would just go under the stairs.
Or like in a bathtub, right?
Yeah, but our bathtub's on the second floor,
Oh, yeah.
so that's
Oh,
not
that's
safe.
so terrifying. Oh my gosh. Tornadoes really scare me. That's when it gets really cold here, like these
Mhm.
really frigid winter days, you'll hear us say things like, "Well, at least we don't have tornadoes. At least we don't have hurricanes."
That is true. You just have snow.
A lot of it too.
Yeah, disgusting.
I like it.
So so Anna, what are we talking about today?
Okay, yeah, let's get back on topic. We're talking about Hairapy, and we introduced this and kinda gave you the idea of what Hairapy is. We're in the business of making people look good, and you've all heard, and we've heard how many times? Well, you feel good, you look good. You look good, you feel good. They kinda go
Mhm.
hand in hand, and a big part of, like, making someone like, what they think look good is also making them feel good, and so we have the privilege of sometimes being close, like, we're a safe place for people. People
Mhm.
can come and share what's on their mind, what they're struggling with, because
Mhm.
we
And I
are
mean, people
listening.
tell their hairdressers everything.
Yeah, and it is such an honor to be that confidant, and do you also feel like the fact that we are touching people, it makes them, like, open up
Feel
more?
more Yeah, I think it makes them feel more comfortable to express themselves for sure.
Yeah, like, we're caring for them in a very, like, tangible way, so they open up, and it's a privilege.
I would agree with you there. A good thing to practice behind the chair is that active listening, like
Mhm.
Anna so diligently practiced in our rose and thorn moment this morning.
Yes, and, sometimes people's problems can, I would say, be overwhelming, right, Hunter?
Absolutely, they
Where
can.
where we just don't know what to say, and I think in those moments, it's a good thing to remind ourselves that it's okay if you don't say anything,
It
and
is because a
sometimes.
lot of times people feel better with just someone listening.
Yep, and it goes right back to that active listening of just being an ear and giving them, but part of active listening is when they're talking,
Responding.
responding and asking questions in a way that's not just like a, "Uh-huh, uh-huh, yup, yup,"
Right.
and then all of a
Yep.
sudden they're like, "Wait, what? You're not even listening." So, I do find myself sometimes it's easy when you're really focusing on what you're doing to also be focusing on what they're saying, but, um but it is therapeutic for people to just talk.
It really is. I mean, that's why we have this podcast, so that we can
Yeah.
talk.
This is our this is our therapy.
This is our thing.
So,
But
yeah, listen, and, if if you ever feel like you we're not licensed therapists, we're not. And sometimes I wish I would go, like, I'm interested in going and taking a class on just, like, maybe some light counseling.
psychology.
Yeah, just a little bit, but I think the therapists that I've talked to about this topic, when things get deep, is they always go back to just suggesting that we listen and we continue to
Mhm.
be there for people and encourage them to get help if things get deep. And we don't have to be fix-its. We can just be listeners. And then how do we how do we shake it off though, Hunter? What are some of your techniques after you're done with an exhausting day?
So, I've always had a long commute to work, and I do like to drive. So my time alone in my car in silence, sometimes it's not silent, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it needs to be. That is my decompress time that I don't have to be emotionally invested in anything, because some people are able to, you know, kind of turn off that emotional side and just listen, but I am not one of those people. So I do get kind of emotionally invested in my guests, especially whenever they go through some tough times. For instance, there was one time, one of my absolute favorite clients in the entire world who has since moved back to Hawaii. I consulted with her and we talked about what we were going to do with her hair, and it was a big change. She wanted to like cut it off, like super super short. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty exciting, and it's not something that we hadn't talked about. So it wasn't out of the normal. So I shampoo her hair and I get her back to the chair, and right before I start to cut, she said that her husband passed away.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I had this is a client that I had since my very first salon. So
Mhm.
7 years I had known her and her family.
Mhm.
And that took a pretty big toll on me, honestly. And I was double booked. So I had someone immediately after her.
Oh, and that's the hardest. That is right there is the hardest when you're just like, ugh, I just want to sit with this person and listen, but you're also like, someone is waiting for your time and you
Yes.
don't, because when you have those conversations, you're automatically going to work slower and you're going to stop, give them a hug,
Mhm.
give them, whatever
Well,
attention they need, because that's way more important than their hair in that moment.
yeah. And so, you know, here's the thing though. The next person that I had just come from a doctor's appointment in which she found out she had breast cancer.
Mm,
This is in one day.
ouch.
So,
Well,
of those, and then that was one of the nights that I definitely drove home in silence,
mm,
where there was no emotional availability left for me at the end of the day.
yeah. I, those are really tough days, and it's hard to know what to do with all of that. And I think your technique of just getting some time to like think and process, and then on to the next. I was gonna say I think the one there's nothing good about that day at all. But
No.
for me, I
You
feel like
know,
it would
actually,
be
there was something good about that day. They all left with a smile on their face.
okay. Well, then see, absolutely. And
So,
then you can I think another technique would be looking at that and being like, I am here for them. Like I
mhm,
get to be here for them, and you made them happy.
mhm,
And that's saying a lot. And if you can like put it into perspective and then on to the next one, because you have that power to like make people feel safe and comfortable.
right.
And for
And,
me,
you
the
know,
hardest
it's also I'm sorry, just one more thing on it, because the last guest, she said, "I just want you to make me feel good, and I really don't wanna talk."
mm,
And so I think it's important to also just let your guests know that if they can't talk to you and they just wanna get their hair done, sometimes that's also what they need.
yep. And
It's
remind them that you are whatever they need you to be in that moment. If you want to listen, you're here. If you want to talk, you're here to listen. If you want to just close your eyes and relax, that's fine too. Just create a safe place for them.
Mhm.
Um, what I was thinking of is I what I struggle with the most is like you have one client that has a hard day and then your next client comes in and they're not having a hard day.
They're having the best day of their life.
And that's great, but how do you then pull yourself out of that low point to then meet their energy of, like, excited, happy, and ready to try something new and fun?
Mhm.
That's where I struggle,
Yeah.
It's like you send one person out and, like, with a big hug and, like, "I'm here for you, we'll see you soon," and then the next one comes in and they're like, "Hi, oh my gosh, good to see you."
Yeah. I feel like maybe I have a really easy time flipping a switch. I think I just triggered a memory. And I think that it's because of having to flip that switch of straight gay.
Oh, interesting.
So this is a
Oh,
self-discovery in this very moment. Growing up, having to kind of flip that switch. Like when you're by
oh,
yourself, you can be this person, but when you're in public or when you're in church or when you're in front of anybody, you need to be this way. So I feel like with a lot of practice, I have been able, it's very easy for me to get out of that vibe and get into the happy vibe
mhm.
and
Yeah,
kind of act like
so
nothing's wrong.
that's interesting, and it's, like, kinda cool that you put 2 and 2 together. That's something you should
We
talk to.
to my therapist about.
Yeah. So maybe there's something there, maybe not, but I think everyone does that to an extent.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has one way that they feel when they're in a safe place and one way that they feel when they're not. But,
Mhm.
also, I that is a technique that we learn as hairdressers, is to be
Mhm.
kind of, like, on to the next, matching people's energy, which is a skill, but is draining, because at
It
the end of the
is,
day,
yes.
that's another thing that we on our if you have a long commute
Mhm.
and that's what's on your mind, is like, "Okay, now it's time for me. Now it's
Mhm.
time for me to be in my safe place, and I don't have to match anyone else's energy." And sometimes just whatever it is, allowing yourself to have that.
Yeah, and I think too, for in order to create a safe space for someone else, it also has to be a safe space for you.
So, like, the
So,
salon
the
or your home?
salon
Okay.
yeah, the salon. So, to me, like, whenever you said that, creating a safe space, it kinda made me think of this. To me, the salon is like, this is where I do what I do, and I do it to the best of my abilities, right? So like this is my wheelhouse. This is where I am most comfortable is behind the chair or talking about hair. So for me to and the salon that I'm in is an amazing environment. It has a beautiful culture, which I think we should do an episode about culture because that's the most important thing in a salon.
You don't and this is another thing we should talk about, is the toxic positivity. I know we talked about this a while ago.
We did,
But
yeah.
sometimes it doesn't always have to be like, "Hi, hi, hi," sometimes that just comes across as, like, fake, and it's okay. I mean, you don't wanna bring someone down. Like, that's their time in the chair, but, like, if you're safe by being, like, just chill and mellow
Hmm.
that day, I mean, be nice and genuine, but it doesn't always have to be like a, "Oh my gosh, how are you?" kind of, like, fake,
Right.
It can
Yeah. I
if they
had a
ask you how
client.
you are, you can be like, "I'm doing good. You know what? I don't even know." It's hard because you don't wanna be like the person, you don't and one thing that we do in our salon is you never ever you treat the people that tell you something in the salon chair is confidential.
It's
You do not
sacred.
carry
Yeah.
that on to the next client.
Right.
And so you don't ever wanna be like, "Oh my gosh, guess what happened to the last client?" But, just being like, "It's okay."
Yeah, just, there's a lot going on right now, but we're good. We're rocking, we're rolling. I'm ready to make you beautiful.
And I'm so happy you're here.
Yes, because at the end of the day, passion or not, this is our job.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and whether you're excited to be doing another haircut or not, like, you are happy to see them, and because you are, and if you have that
mhm,
attitude, then it will be fine, and then you can decompress when you're home.
exactly. Or on your commute.
Yeah, but you don't have to be fake about it. That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah, I feel like it is fine to let your client know that you're not feeling all great if it's, you know, genuine. Just as
Yeah.
long as they know you're still going to do a great job on their hair.
Yep.
'Cause that's really all that
Mhm.
matters. They want the pretty hairs.
And you have to know who you're talking to too. So,
Yeah. That's what I was going to get to that. I was trying to get to that. I'm laughing so hard at your 500 teacups.
I start with this mug because it's not insulated.
Okay.
And then, because I know I'm going to go through 2 cups while we're talking. And then I go to this one that is insulated and warm. It's all about staying warm.
Interesting. Interesting.
So now I'm on the insulated mug.
You just always have a lot of liquids everywhere.
Here's
This
my water
morning
bottle.
we were FaceTiming this morning. See? Always hydrated. We were FaceTiming this morning and she let the camera slide a little bit. And I saw she had her whole coffee pot sitting next to
My
her.
French press.
And her creamer. So she would have more coffee without having to get up. And I think that it's genius. And I just I'm noticing the pattern. Anna
I'm
will
noticing
always,
this pattern too because
one thing about Anna is that she will always be hydrated.
I am noticing this too. I didn't realize it, and now it's a trend. Coffee in the morning, tea at night, water all the time.
So what's your favorite way to decompress?
I would say working out, going on a run, and
Can't relate.
not listening to music. Like turn off the music, turn off the TV. If I'm healthy. If I'm healthy, then I go on a run, meditate, and I do not have any kind of input of sound or visuals. That's a healthy decompress for me. A non-healthy decompress for me is go home, pour a tall glass of wine, and turn on Netflix. Just
Shameless.
being real.
More specifically.
I'm on a shameless kick. I just started the last season, so.
Okay, have you watched Euphoria?
No, I haven't. Everyone keeps on telling me about it. They say it's kind of dark though, and.
Do you have HBO Max?
I don't.
You can have my login. You can have my login.
I wasn't going to hint, but.
I don't have a friend that has allowed me their login.
Don't have that one yet.
You can have my login, so you will watch Euphoria.
I'm about to subscribe to Apple TV. So you can have. Do you have that one?
Already got it. We got all of them.
Well, then maybe I don't need to subscribe. Just kidding. I will.
Well, I think that the Apple one is connected to your specific thing. So like whenever
Apple's not going to let you get away with anything.
Yeah. It's Apple is they know what they're doing, honestly.
Yes. But I'm excited. I'm really excited that you're going to share with me because I also want to see there's a new Game of Thrones. It's not Game of Thrones, but it's like a next season with the bloodline of the Targaryen. I forgot what it was called, like Dragon's Blood or something. I don't know. I'm making up names, but I'm really excited about it. I'm a huge Game of Thrones nerd.
Really? I never got into it. I even tried to read the books.
I listened to the books on tape while I was getting ready for work. So that was always like a very not uplifting way to start my day because it was like, if you know anything about Game of Thrones, I'm not actually like condoning the show because it's extremely, extremely violent and lots of death. Lots of death.
Lots of death and lots of colloidal actions.
Yes, lots of spice.
Coitus. Yeah.
Say that word again, really slowly, close to the mic.
What? Coitus.
I can't look at you while you do that. Okay. Oh, pull it together. Pull it together. It's spicy. We'll just go with that. Spicy. Very spicy. So you have to be prepared. Shield your eyes if you have children. Don't let them watch.
Euphoria is also very spicy.
Oh, okay. Good. Good to know.
So, speaking of spicy, I have nothing spicy. I was just that was
Speaking of
but
spicy, oh, never mind.
oh, never mind.
I was
I had a
excited,
burrito
Hunter.
the other
I'm like,
day,
what?
and it
You
was
tell me.
spicy.
Anyways, decompress. So an unhealthy way of decompressing would be watching movies with lots of death and drinking wine.
That's how we got there. Got
Yeah.
it.
So avoid that. What not to do, 101. We're just
I
keeping it
mean,
real
unless
because
that's
this
your
is,
healthy way of doing it, right? Because
yeah,
doesn't
I
everyone
guess.
have a different healthy way of
You're
dealing
so
with
right, Hunter,
everything?
because that could be someone else's way of like actually decompressing
Mm-hmm.
because it might not affect them in the way that it affects me, which
Mm-hmm.
is
For
unhealthy.
for me, doing that is more of like an escapism thing. So for me, it would also be unhealthy because
I think,
you're not present in your life.
yes. And I think that is the key is that how much is it happening? Because I think every once in a while, that's great. But if
Oh,
it becomes,
I could lay on the couch and watch Netflix for days. Sometimes.
Mhm.
I've done it.
Mm.
I've
So
done it.
would
I
you say
watched
that
Grey's
that's,
Anatomy season 1 to season 8 in like 2 weeks when I was in college once.
were you trying to avoid homework?
Everything. Everything is what I was trying to avoid.
Because that's what I did with Game of Thrones. Was like just procrastinating to the max. So yeah, I think that it's everything in moderation. And if
Mm-hmm.
that's always your go-to, for me at least, then I can see it as a pattern of unhealthiness. So that's when your hairapy should maybe turn into therapy. Da-da-da!
Right. Dun, da, da, da.
Yes. So never be afraid to recommend that to your clients or to yourself and roll with it. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
I've really wanted to do more of just because I think that everyone could use it, no
And I
matter if
think
you're in a
it's
healthy or an unhealthy place, right?
right. And I think that it's no secret that most people in the world have gone through a lot of bad stuff in their life if you have lived life at all, you know?
Yeah.
So whenever people are talking about all of their issues, I hate saying it like that. There's got to be a better way to say that. But whenever people are discussing with you in their therapy appointment things that they're going through, I think it's important to also remember not to project that.
Yes. So if someone's talking, an example of this would be projection, would be like, Hunter, if you tell me something that you're going through right now. So like say it would be like, I don't know, something you're going through and a projection would be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, I've been through that. I understand. This is how I got through it. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of just being like, I am so sorry that you're going through this. I can relate to you. I don't know exactly how you're feeling, but I'm here to help if you need help. But most importantly, I'm here to listen and be here for you.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the most important things I've learned in life is to not everybody wants help. So maybe just let them ask you instead of because I'm a helper and a fixer by nature, but not everybody wants it. And you can't unsolicitedly give someone advice by projecting what you did to get through your trauma because they're not going to use it the same way.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't always project. And this goes for not even in hard times, but also in good times. Like sometimes just let them have their win. Doesn't mean you always have to like be like, oh, yeah, I've done that too. Or,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just let them say it. And you don't have to always relate because every
That
situation is so different.
mm-hmm. I've been that person that is trying to always relate.
Yeah. And that's good. I mean, relating is really good to an extent because that's how you make friends, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But when it's constant, like, oh,
Yeah,
I've
it's
done
not.
that, or yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, we don't actually know exactly what people are going through. All right, Hunter, myth time.
All right, hit me with it.
True or false? Wearing a hat causes baldness/hair loss.
I'm gonna say true because traction alopecia.
Yeah, I would say that too, but this article says false.
Ah,
Hair loss is a byproduct of hormonal and genetic factors. Male pattern baldness is actually caused by a hormone called, oh no, dihydrotestosterone, otherwise known as DHT. If your body is sensitive to this hormone, the DHT can actually cause the hair follicle to shrink and eventually lead to hair loss. So basically, don't blame the hat. Um, though traction alopecia is definitely a thing, I think that
I think maybe the myth was referring to male pattern baldness because
okay.
that's different than traction alopecia. I think that we are correct, and I think that the
Yeah.
article is lacking information.
So male pattern baldness is, if for those of you who do not know, is like the temple hair loss, the receding hairline, as well as
The
the crown of the
horseshoe.
head. Yeah.
And on that note, this has been another episode of Break Room Banter. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please leave us a 5-star review just to let us know how we're doing. And if you are listening on YouTube, as we have for the last few weeks now, we're going to have another secret word. And the secret word this week is bald. So if you listen to this point in the podcast, go onto our YouTube channel and leave the comment with the word bald. Listen to the episode to find out. If you want to follow us on social media, I am at HairXHunter on Instagram. Our podcast Instagram is at Breakroom Banter Pod. And my lovely co-host Instagram is
Anna.shrh hair.
And until next time, bye.
Bye.